Ngiye ngachithela umfazi wami. After ngimchithele, then bekumele mase separate naye nabantwana bami. So makuchange manje life. So manje ngaba ne-stress. And then ngayaphuma nabangani bami ebabhema ama-drugs. Like ngabacela ukuthi abangiphe i-line ukuthi nginami pain, and then ngaba hooked kuma-drugs.
I got into the showbiz industry, which is the music industry. Then that's when I started getting more into hard drugs, where I started using cheap drugs, started living in the streets, sleeping on park benches, eating from the bins. It came to a point where I stayed about 7 years not being able to take a bath.
For me, it was binge drinking. So my binging got a lot worse. It would go from Friday to Sunday.
There is a very huge role that poor mental health plays. So now the person starts seeking comfort in substances.
My mental health also took a big toll. I just wasn't coping. I lost my job. And I was obviously using drinking as a big coping mechanism.
There's ample things that we can look into that drives one to be using substances. So when I'm using substances, I gain courage. The challenge becomes when the particular individual gets addicted. That's how I would describe addiction. You compromise everything in your life, or you lose everything, you sacrifice everything just for one man.
I started to organize a meeting. Everyone must intervene. That's when he admitted that he was definitely doing drugs. By him admitting that he's doing, I felt that's the first step.
She came on the 15th time, and then she paid me again.
We had to lie to him and say the rehab is going to take something like, I think, 3 weeks. That's when he agrees to go to the rehab. When we went there, this guy told him in his face, which is not going to be a 3 weeks, 6 weeks thing that they're telling you. It's going to be 6 months. Yeah, it was a fight.
I actually got dragged by my mom and my boyfriend at the time. I got dragged to my first AA meeting. At that point, I was like, but what am I doing here? I don't need to be here. So the denial was still really big. But I remember at the end of the meeting, hold hands as a group and you say the serenity prayer. And I felt this energy. That was sort of the first seed, that was planted of a different path.
I was having everything in that night. Then I was sitting on my own, and then I was like, I'm doing one thing again and again. And when I look at the word insanity, it's repeating the very same thing and expecting different results. So I went to an organization and started asking how can they help me. Then I went to rehab, stayed about 6 weeks in rehab.
When I came to about 2 years sober, I had a very bad relapse. I also struggled with my mental health. And I got to a really bad point in my mental health. When I picked up again, in one day, I managed to almost destroy my life. I was very suicidal at that point. And that was a really dark time. I remember thinking, I need to make this decision now. I can't keep living like this. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. If you relapse, if you go back onto old behaviors, it doesn't mean you're not in recovery. It's part of the journey.
While you are in addiction, you lose respect from people, you lose dignity. So anything you talk about or say, like you're like an addict, they don't take you seriously.
So the stigma that's around me is that they are liars, and they constantly being labeled addicts. The choice of words that we use around them. So as family members, you also need to be prepared while the person is going to rehab. You as a family need to also seek for help and support to be ready to receive the particular individual or family member when they come back. Because remember that when they left, the trust was broken. When they come back, there should be some changes around the household.
I think we are closer now. Yeah, because even if he's having some problems, he can come to me and talk to me, which is before didn't used to do that.
My biggest and the proudest moment that I have in my life is that I finally found Crosby back. and having to have Crosby back, I cannot afford to give to my family, but the best thing that I can give to them is to stay clean and become a family man and a parent to my kids and a son to my mother and a productive member of the society.
First of all, I think it's one of the bravest things you can do to realize I have a problem and I want to change. Second of all, ask for help. It's not something you can do alone.
Please reach out. There are safe spaces. It's one of our little how ka be letso go re be yana. Moya o tlo le foka again. But how ka etsa letso go wa le go wa letsa yana, which means gore re ngatana e nngwe re ntwe e kopaneng. So a re ska tshaba go kopa thuso wa tsa modimo. Thuso yona e teng. Di helpline e teng. Ke le kopa ke le rotloetsa gore a re ska lwa ntwe re le bao. A re tshwarisane.